Poddy, good morning, everybody, and welcome to episode 93 of the PoddyC. This week, Blizzard has, on beta, they've taken away those extra rewards that they briefly put in for going above level 10 in your Great Vault. So M+, is this good or bad for M+ers? I kind of forget. I feel like M+ers mostly liked it. Dorki, what's the vibe in the M+ community? Is this doomer or good?
Oh, you're talking about like them.
Yeah, basically they briefly
no more 18s.
They flirted with the 12s and the 15s and the 18s all giving better rewards, and now it looks like it's back to just 10 plus for Myth Track.
Yeah, people are definitely not happy about them going back on it. I mean, so all of this was data mined in the first place, so nothing was official, but they did put it into beta where it was like, okay, like they opened the very first vault on beta and it was dropping better loot. So that kind of like sparked some type of excitement in a lot of the M plus community, but it seems like they went back on that decision, or like it's no longer dropping a higher track gear, which is kind of sad for a lot of M plus players, that's for sure. Like there just needs to be incentives to push higher keys.
I think it's sad. Yeah. It's definitely sad for people that are already doing 18s, right? Because they're like, oh, well, that was great.
Well, it's not just 18s, right? Like it's also like if you're just going to like 12,
anyone
right?
who's
like,
doing higher than a 10 already,
right? Yeah.
Which is the minority, right? Of Mythic Plus. Yeah. The majority of Mythic Plus keys are done there. So like that is totally understood. But I think there's this other side of Mythic Plus, and we don't really. I don't want to like just assume. All right, this is it's happening right now. So we're gonna have to just fucking wait for Leaf Blower Guy to be done, or we can like transition to a different take. Okay, and barking, great. Okay, so I'll just be AFK for a bit. So it was a win for, or a loss for the people that were already doing above 10s, and I do sympathize with them because number one, there should be more Mythic Plus rewards. We've talked about wanting them to push people above 10. Like there's a community of people who push above 10 that really like it. And I think we can also talk later about resilient stuff because Zorthus had an interesting like tweet and video about that. I don't think we talked about that last week, did we?
I don't think so. No, we've talked about some of Zorthus's like his graph of the amount of high keys done, but he did a survey about resilient keys and a video about it, which is definitely very interesting.
Yeah, I watched that on stream the other day. It was good. The so you want people who are pushing above to have those. I mean, I think it's just a general game design thing, right? Like if you do harder content, you should be rewarded for that. And there's a lot to be said about Mythic Plus for that. So understood. But I personally had a concern that I think there would have been a lot of people that were upset about it, mainly from the large amount. I mean, the vast majority of people who don't go above 10s of feeling like now they need to. This isn't necessarily just like a raid logger perspective of like, man, I don't really like doing Mythic Plus for raid and I have to do that because obviously it's so prevalent early in a season that you need to spam Mythic Plus to raid effectively. But just people who might feel like they have to go higher and now are having a worse time with Mythic Plus because they feel the need to do the thing that gives you the best eye level. And we've talked about that before. But I do find one part of this interesting is I wonder if it was ever actually intended or if it was a mistake because we've made mistakes in the past of like, I mean, it's kind of hard to tell, but like until Blizzard actually has a post explaining something, you don't really know if it's what they intend or not. It could just be like weird data mining but you guys are saying this was actually working this way, like just straight up the Great Vaults.
Yeah. So this isn't just data mined. Like it was data mined, but it was also like in the beta vaults where it was like specifically, okay, you completed a 14, your reward is going to be 276, which is 2 out of 6 myth track.
Yeah.
So it's like it's in the game. It's just they never made an official statement about adding that to the game.
Yeah, that leaves us in a weird spot, right? Because they basically, I mean, it seems like they decided to do this, and then they very clearly decided to revert it. And I would love to hear the reasonings for both of those things.
Yeah, there's this weird space whenever there's like either data mined or implemented in beta but no post, because the crest change as well. That's another thing that doesn't have a post explaining it yet, but it's been there for months now on beta, right? Like that is presumably their plan, right? Presumably it's not like, oops, somebody put the wrong numbers in. So yeah, I don't know. I think that it's worth just always trying to specify which of those stages they are, but any of them can be reverted, or they can also just be Blizzard's plan and they haven't made the post yet.
I'm assuming it's just not finalized yet.
Yeah,
like they probably just like are like, should we add this? Maybe we should, maybe we shouldn't. But like because they're not sure, they're not gonna just go out and say like, okay, this is what's gonna happen next expansion.
I do think that the set of players that can like reasonably do a 10 and feel pretty good about it and get a good reward, I do think there's a lot of them that would be pretty unhappy with like an incentive to push higher than that, because 18s are like way harder than 10s, right? That's like the set of people that can do a 10 and the set of people that can do an 18, it's like, I don't know, maybe 5% of them or something can, right? Like that.
And again, I mean, I don't think it should be specifically 18 though. Like,
right, but
it's more about just having a path upwards.
Yeah, so the nice part for people that enjoy that push is that there's the progression, right? There's the ladder, there's the aspirational content, but it sucks for people who can't reach the top of the ladder if they're the kind of person who feels bad about missing out on the top rewards, right? Which a lot of people who are we're trained now for the past decade that you can get the best gear rewards from M+ without being the best M+er, and it would be a growing pain to take that away. So I think Blizzard, they're backing off of doing that, which I think is understandable.
And there's also one other major distinction. I think going from a 10, not necessarily all the way to an 18, but somewhere in the middle of there, you also cross another very distinct barrier, which is when Mythic Plus starts being clearly designed for being in a group in comms, right? Like in a 10, it's never expected that you need to be having comms. It's just not the content for that. And then all the way to 18, it is, I think, absolutely expected that can you pug this? Yes, but I also think like the growing list of people who are the most unhappy in the game are the people trying to force pugging 18s and above. Like you're just doing something that's not supposed to be like that, and you're probably going through hell. So that, I think that's interesting too. And that's kind of why I thought maybe they had that track to increase the rewards, because clearly they want to push you to that. This is no secret that WoW, you'd probably say this about any game, but certainly WoW is way more fun with friends, and they want to push you, even though there's a little friction, to group with people and meet people and do consistent groups or whatever, because that is the thing that makes you love WoW more, would make you love any game more, right? Anyone's gonna have more fun in WoW playing with a group of people they like than playing solo. No, zero question, right? That's a big thing with Raid. Why is 20-man still a thing? I think they absolutely want that guild environment for that exact reason. And them going away from that kind of just is like, okay, we're just gonna. It feels like they're accepting defeat on like there's gonna be too many people mad about this maybe to do it. But again, I'm just making it up because we never got a post for why they did it or why they removed it. So who knows?
Yeah. Also,
well, I mean,
okay.
You could also, like, I think the bigger problem is that there is that for Raid, but there isn't that for M+. I mean, I would even say there's that for
there
PvP too,
what
right?
Do you mean specifically,
like rewards for doing harder stuff,
right?
Oh yeah,
the rewards and the path upwards for
all the rewards
end
at very trivial, easy content in Mythic Plus.
Yeah, it's like this exists for the other two pillars of the game, but it does not exist for M+, which is why like M+ers have been complaining for literally the longest time. But like now that they're going back on this decision, it just feels like why are they doing this? Why is there no competitive gearing option for M+ similar to PvP and Raid?
Yeah.
If I can guess, it is they're very cognizant of trying to make the eye level and the power of players that are doing the bare minimum or are not just casuals, because I think that's like a very broad term, but like people who are doing PvE, but like they're not doing it super hardcore, how they are progressing through a season and how the completely unemployed, no life, the opposite extreme, right? Like how they are progressing through a season, they want to keep the difference between those two things closer, and maybe by removing those rewards, it is going to do that. But then obviously, I mean, that's not a reason for Mythic Plusers to not be mad about that, right? Like absolutely, if you're Mythic Plus focused and you're like, okay, every other game mode gets these extra rewards for doing harder content, but we don't, like that's just obviously going to feel really bad. I wonder if they like is there do you guys think there's any truth to that, by the way? Like just before I go on?
What specifically?
About them being concerned about the power game, because like in PvE, especially early, Mythic Plus is like, I guess outside of tier set acquisition, which is easy from raid, like that's like all of your gear in raid. Like if you're playing in the first 2 weeks, you are wearing like almost everything you're wearing is Mythic Plus. And like that being so powerful in like those first few vaults, I wonder if they're concerned about the like big power gains different between those two different types of players, and that was a way to curb that. They thought it trended too much towards the higher level players are going to just outpace everyone by too much.
Maybe, yeah. I suspect that the main reason they backed off of this is just that they felt like, first of all, there's just way more people that do M plus than do raid at all, right? And they felt like M plus being something where you could go in and, you know, push up to a plus 10, and that would be medium hard and even quite hard for like very hard for large sets of the player base, right? And then feel like really rewarded and feel like, okay, cool, I'm doing 10s, like this is the top of M plus, and like I'm a badass, I'm a beast, I'm doing plus 10 keys, look at me, I'm getting the best rewards, right? Like that feeling, I think they were probably not wanting to diminish that by being like, nope, 10s are only halfway, and in fact way less than halfway if you look at the actual health and damage scaling of the way to the top of this ladder, right? And like so I think that's it, right? Whenever we talk about like how M plus has 10 times as many players as raid or whatever, like that sounds like an argument for prioritizing M plus more, but it's also an argument for keeping M plus very casual friendly, right? Keeping it so that people aren't feeling like they actually have to be bashing their head against really hard M plus.
That's interesting.
When you look at the changes to M plus and the seasons where M plus is popular, the seasons where 10s are relatively hard and the seasons where 10s are relatively easy, for instance, people tend to like the seasons where 10s are relatively easy. They tend to like the seasons, like those tend to be the popular seasons, right? Are the ones where it's like you think about War Within season 1, where everybody was like, where 10s were really hard, people were struggling in 10s, but they felt like they should do them and they know they'd done 10s in the past, right? Like that felt really bad compared to seasons where 10s have been pretty easy. Those have been more, I think, well received among the broader side of the player base. So I think the decision is made for those players in mind, and I think people like Dorki and us as well, you know, the raid gear acquisition, all those sorts of considerations, I think are very secondary to that.
I don't understand though. You guys are saying how like you guys make it sound like they're removing that reward from doing the 10s, but
they're making it so that like if you are a relatively casual Mythic Plus player, you feel like you're pushing near the top of Mythic Plus and getting the good rewards, and you aren't feeling like, oh man, you're not feeling like you're like in bronze in League, right? Where it's like you just see all of these different levels above you and you're like, man, I'm a scrub, right? Like that I think is the feeling that would be evoked in people if we
talked about the barrier you pass about like playing in a group or whatever. I think it's also the barrier of, for so many people, getting the best reward from Mythic Plus is something that you can do, and I know this might not be super relatable to a lot of people, but is like relatively easy, and they don't want that process to be, oh well, now you have to like fucking game to get the best thing, and that just totally changes the interaction with Mythic Plus for a lot of the people who just stop at 10s. So it's just them not wanting to have that. Now, if you're a Mythic Plus or Dorki, I don't expect you to hear that and be like, oh, that makes sense, that's cool. Because then you could just make what I'm saying raid. Is why does Mythic raid drop better loot than Heroic? Right?
Yeah, like they can still do the 10s. It's not like they're missing out on the myth track pieces. Like they're still getting myth track pieces at the end of the day. They're just losing some crests, which, like, you know, you could argue is a big deal for those players, but I don't exactly see how or why. Especially when there's like,
it's one of those things where either way, right? Like you could flip the argument as well, be like, well, you just would have been gaining a couple of crests and now you're not, right? Like it's one of those things where it's not a big deal either way, but for you, the feeling of being rewarded for going to higher keys is something you would want. And I think for a lot of people, not all the people, but a lot of people doing the 10s, the feeling that they are not getting the best rewards and they should be going higher and they have gotten the best rewards in the past and now it's gotten way harder to do that would be a bad feeling, even though in both cases, we're talking about, 60 crests, which is not a big deal compared to the 150 that you need per slot, which is, again, a whole other issue with the way the crest system works. But it is all like, it's all about the feeling that it's going to create in people.
I mean, that just sounds insane to me because like World of Warcraft has been built on aspirational content and like not having, like just because they can't do a 12 doesn't mean it's the end of the world for them. Like, yeah, sure, they're going to be missing out on some crests, but they're still getting a myth track piece at the end of the day. And Just like having the ability to like see that other players are capable of doing this should be a good part of the game. I mean, which has been for since like literally vanilla, right? Like you look back at vanilla, you see someone with epic tier shoulders, you're like, holy shit, I want to be that player. I want to be doing Naxxramas too, or whatever it is.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I agree that I think that, you know, having aspirational content above you, especially if it's like, okay, I've gotten to the myth track part and now I'd be playing for extra crest, right? Like I do think that would be fine. It's just like it would be a new thing for M plus, right? Like M plus has been a low ceiling for rewards since it came out, with, you know, a couple of seasons where it's been like slightly higher, but even in those seasons, typically it's been pretty easy to get to the, you know, the ceiling of gear rewards, and changing that would cause, I guess it's just Blizzard's scared of doing that, but I agree. I think that there, you know, that is part of what
I think
is good about rating. Yeah,
yeah. I'm not, for what it's worth, I'm not arguing against you. I was like just thinking about like how Blizzard would do it. I completely agree with you, and I think that it was a good thing and probably should have been in the game, especially if you relate it to other content like Mythic Raid shouldn't drop Mythic eye level stuff. Like the best gear should drop from Heroic, and anything you do above that is whatever. That's basically the equivalent, right, or something like that. And like,
yeah, people make that argument all the time. They're like, oh, that's how they do it in Final Fantasy or whatever.
Too, so I mean, I like just to keep it clear, I actually don't care about having aspirational content in WoW, simply because like I am also of that opinion that they should just make the best gear come from Heroic. Just keep it at Heroic track and just like forget about Myth track, because like I personally don't care about like going for that level of gearing, simply because like gear is a means to an end for me in World of Warcraft. I'm not like necessarily playing WoW to gear. I'm gearing to play WoW, so it's like the opposite.
Yeah.
But in a world where Mythic Raid does provide the best gear and is aspirational content, I would like for M plus to also have that. It's not like I
think that's totally fair.
Care about it. I just feel like, you know, if other pillars have it, then so should M plus. Like I don't understand why an M plus only player shouldn't get the best gear for whatever they do.
All right, I had just, by the way, completely agree with you. I had the most random thing just pop in my head. All right, new Mythic Plus thing, or Great Vault thing. It's how it is right now. At 10 is the highest eye level you're ever going to get, but for every level you do above a 10 in the week, so this doesn't matter how many you've timed of them, just you can time a single key of a high level, and every number above 10 gives you an extra slot that drops. So if you did an 18, instead of getting 3 items to pick from, you'd have like 11 or whatever that math is. Like you would just every key level you do higher, you just get more potential options. So it gives that still pushing higher as like some value for you. It's a stupid cook. How bad?
That is the stupidest cook I've ever heard, but obviously
why not? Why? Why?
Okay, yeah. I mean, like it would make it so that you'd like, you know, the M plus trinket thing. It reminds me of like bonus rolls. You remember when you could bonus roll loot from bosses in Raid, and it's like, yeah, I could increase my chances of getting that thing I want. But it's still not 100%, right? Like you're still, dude. Imagine you open like an 11 slot vault and you have like 3 dead slots and you just fill it all with those. Like God, the post would be crazy.
I would just love to see the Reddit post of someone who has like 15 options and they're all terrible.
Yeah. I mean, it would make that less likely. It would be a, and it would also give you that thing of like, if it's like an infinite reward, right? You don't feel like when 18s was the ceiling, you would feel bad about not doing an 18. But if you just knew that every single key level gives you extra stuff, that would, I think, make it psychologically, it would make it feel less bad to not be doing the 18. I think,
and the people who are at the top are still getting like better loot over time. But like you could convince yourself that like, oh, I actually hit something I needed in just the 3 slots from just doing a 10, so I don't feel bad for having done that. Where like the person that did an 18 or whatever might actually get like a super sick trinket really early on, and like that's really good for them too.
Yeah,
it's not that bad after you thought about it.
A lot of people that play the game early in the season only do like one big weekly key anyways. So they don't like actually go beyond completing more than one vault slot.
Yeah, I know JB has been trying to put the like make your whole vault row based on your highest key thing. Although I think Blizzard, I think they don't like any system that would set up people doing like 118 and then, you know, 17 twos.
That goes on a completely different tangent for me. So this has been like the longest gripe about Great Vault. Now, personally, I don't think it's like that big of a deal for me because I play this game 24/7. I have no life. But for everyone else out there, the Great Vault has been a huge problem where it just creates a gameplay loop of you having to do homework every week where you just have to complete 8 keys so that you can get 3 slots out of your weekly reward. And it just feels really bad compared to what it was back in Legion and BFA, where you just completed 1 key and it's like, okay, you got your weekly in the lever and boom, you're done. That like, that was pretty cool. But like
why
now
didn't they change that?
Dorki, remember 5 minutes ago when you were talking about how you could just do the 10 and get the reward, and the fact there were better rewards above that wouldn't be a bad thing? Okay, you can just do 1 dungeon and get 1 slot in your vault, and it's exactly the same as it was in BFA. But the fact that there are now extras that you can earn by doing more is bad?
Well, the difference is one of them is like, you're playing as a competitive player. Another one is you just want to do a 10 and that's it. Because like if you're someone that like actually cares, well, because I'm trying to be a competitive player, right? Like it's kind of like the whole
because
just don't use add-ons forehead situation. Like I hear JB say this all the time, like, oh, if you don't like add-ons, just don't use it. Well, it's like it's not that simple if you're trying to be the best player possible. But that's not all players, right? Like some players, they don't care about being the best. Like they just want to be able to do a 10 and they don't want to go beyond that. And my argument for if you're just doing a 10 and you don't want to go beyond that, then you should just be fine with just getting a 1 out of 6 myth track piece. Like you're still getting a myth track piece at the end of the day.
Well, it's interesting that the inverse of that argument, though, also supports the like why you wouldn't go to 18, because you would feel like, oh, well, the absolute best thing I could be doing for myself is just more work than I want to be doing, right? And it's the exact same with the amount of keys versus, I guess, the highest difficulty, which actually one is more time and the other is more skill based, but I think they're pretty similar.
Okay, do you guys want to talk about resilient keys? Because Zorth has put out the chart on this as well. I think this is a very interesting, like, related topic here, because we're talking about these higher keys. And so Zorth has put out like a poll on Twitter, and then he made a video about it as well. I'm not going to spoil the video, but I'll show you the graph that he made, and I think everybody should watch this video as well.
You should watch the video. It's a good video. I also heard a couple things on my stream, like common complaints that I think were like pretty unfounded. First, they were criticizing the amount of poll responses, and honestly, I don't think people understand how hard it is to get people to spend their time to do a poll on like anything, and especially this. This is not a yes or no Twitch poll. This was like probably like 6 or 8 questions long or something, and one of them was a like long form.
Well, what were they criticizing?
What did you say?
What were they criticizing?
Well, they were criticizing. They're like, oh, this doesn't really represent anything because there's only like a couple hundred, like 400 or something responses. And it's like, first of all, resilient keys only affect people who are doing above 12s anyway, which is already a pretty small part of the community. I don't know how many viewers Zorthus gets, but if I have 10,000 viewers and I put out a poll that's literally yes or no, I'm going to get less than 10% of the people involved to do it. I don't think Zorthus has 10,000 viewers, and the fact that he got 500 is very, like, it's a lot of people invested in that. And I also don't think the like high key community and like WoW right now is not super popular. So I think it's a pretty good sample size anyway, especially because he got people to answer from like different key levels, right? Like people who don't just do like 20s or whatever, like people who do 13s. And like some of the information he came back with was like resilient keys are significantly more positive for people who are doing keys just above 12 than people who are doing them at the very high end, which is also something we've talked about recently. And then he comes with a few like obvious positives for them, some obvious negatives. And then at the end, he had people give a like long form response thing, and he compiled like the most frequently suggested changes, which I think would be interesting for us to go over as well. And then also for each one of those changes, the positives and negatives that they would bring. And they're don't want to spoil anything, but none of them are like slam dunks. You know, it's pretty complicated. But
like this question, for instance, do you like resilient keys? It doesn't say like, do you like them more than what we had before, right? Like versus do you like them more than the hypothetical ideal system that is in your head that is different than everybody else who's answering no that's in their head, right? It reminds me of do you think classic should have changes, right? And it's like everybody thinks that classic should have some changes, but when you actually aggregate everybody together, nobody can agree on what the changes should be.
Well,
right?
The poll was a little bit more in depth than that. This just like visualizes what the answers were.
But this was the question, that top question.
Yeah, they actually say like, if there was no Resil, what would you rather have? And like, what did you dislike about Resil, or what did you like about it specifically?
Yeah. I will say the sample size here is actually, it's definitely not bad. Obviously this is not a representative sample of WoW play rates, especially on these lower key levels, right? The average person doing 2s to 12s is a very different population than the people who will be reading and answering a poll on high end players' Twitter. So I don't think it's claiming to be any kind of super representative sample or anything like that. It's just interesting, right? Like
I think it is a pretty good sample. Like
I think especially when you look at the opinions of the people in the 20 to 22 range, there I suspect it is probably pretty close to representative.
Like, if you're following Zorthis, he's a pretty plays WoW. I think he streams actually every day, all the time. And then also he trends more the elite style of the game, like high end rating, high mythic plus. And then you're talking about it was being introduced on Twitter, something that in the WoW community is certainly very heavily representative people who either follow or do themselves play at the high end. So I actually think it hits. And then everything above a 12 is, I guess you could call that high end gameplay. But I mean, the reason you'd ever want to play above a 12 is you subscribing to that kind of thinking. So I actually think this is a very good set of data for what it's worth.
Yeah, I would imagine most of our players probably don't really give a shit about either way. So
yeah, I suspect that there's a good chance that there would be some systematic differences between the people who would answer this type of poll and the people who wouldn't answer this type of poll. My suspicion is that it would probably skew in favor more people who like resilient keys would probably be less likely to answer this kind of poll than people who dislike it. So I suspect that it probably misses in that direction. But either way, it's very interesting. There's a lot of statistically, you can always take issue with it. But I'm not saying he should have done anything differently. That's not what he was trying to do here. He's not trying to be a pollster and get some specific statistical power or anything like that, right?
He seems pretty unbiased.
Yeah, and again, I think that the general trend, I would be shocked if this general trend of people in people in the 13s to 16s like resilient keys as a system way more than people in the 20s and the 22s, that I would be shocked if that wasn't just true.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. Like the stuff that people hate about the higher end is just going to be way less prevalent on a 13 to 16. Like when you're going from 13 and up, every single milestone is so meaningful, right? You have something to shoot for. It's oh my God, I finally have resilient 15s or whatever. Plus you're way less likely, because the keys are more forgiving, you're less likely to do one of the biggest complaints that exists in 17s through 22s, which is one little thing goes wrong and you just go again. And people are way less focused because you can just go again and they're not super locked in, and people miss that you just had to make the key work kind of thing. In a 13, 14, whatever, you just don't have to do that. You can just do the key. That is not true in a 21, right?
Right.
So that at least totally made sense to me. Plus, I think the note key thing, which was also a complaint, although it was below two other major complaints, it wasn't the number one complaint, which I was kind of surprised by, just because it's the one I hear about the most. I think maybe because it's the most ridiculous that people are actually doing that. But that was that's something that is only going to exist in those hierarchies. You're not going to see note key, bro. Insane if someone's note keying or note tipping a 14, right? It's crazy.
Yeah, the boosting getting easier as well, and title getting devalued as well. I've heard there are people that are just leeching title off of a friend that has access to high resilient keys. There might even be one of them on this very podcast that leech title guy. There's investigative journalists are uncovering the truth there, but those sides of things I think are also in the category of small magnitude problems with resilient keys compared to the scale of how big M plus is as a system. Although again, I personally have some of my biggest problems with resilient keys are the fairness side of things, and the fact that your experience as somebody who has a friend or buys a boost from somebody who has them versus trying to pug without them can be pretty different. Obviously, there's a side of it that has a really good side for pugs as well, where it makes it feel safe to not risk your key in a way that you used to if you actually once you do have the resilient keys. But before you have them, right? It's a problem. To me, the one thing that is really interesting about this is clearly they're so popular as you go to lower keys, and then the system just doesn't actually exist where the overwhelming majority of players are in the keys that are lower than this, right? If it gets more popular as you go from 20s to 16s and way more popular as you go from 16s to 13s,
yeah, why doesn't it exist all the
why
time?
doesn't this exist for 10s? Why doesn't this exist for 6s, right? This
or
feels
the opposite,
it would be...
why doesn't it exist and then it stops existing as you go higher.
Right, exactly. Like if there's a system that the people in the 20s hate and the people in the 13s love, what if we took it away from the 20s and we gave it to the people in the 6s?
Exactly. I also think like when you get to the like really lower levels of Mythic Plus, I think people love that sense of accomplishment and that collecting and achieving something, and them getting the resilient level. Right now, resilient exists at a level that they may never get to,
right?
But they would actually really like that. Like, oh, I like have actually leveled up my resilient thing. That's cool. That's something I want to strive for.
Speaking of which, why don't they have the whole what do you call that system? Like the League of Legends system, where instead of ELO they had back then, it's now bronze, silver, diamond, platinum. Like, why do they not have that instead?
Instead of getting to 500 score or whatever, it's like, oh, I made it to silver M+ score. Yeah, I think that
seems like a pretty easy thing.
That would be a system. I think it would be fun, to have those that sort of way of level. I mean, because they basically already have some delineations where it's like, oh, here's where you get the mount, here's where you get the title, right? Like, here's where you get the other mount.
It basically already exists. You would just have to name it and figure out the thresholds.
Right, I think that would be pretty
it's
cool.
The same shit. It just has a name. Yeah.
Speaking of things that are cool for low-level keys, I don't want to miss out on what is actually some cool news about something that Blizzard is doing for low-level keys. They're actually putting in like a affix that puts a route in the dungeon.
Oh, this is so goated
for 2 to 5 keys. Yeah, this is we come up with all these different gripes about like why don't they do this for low level keys? But
we talked about this last week, right?
This is a really great thing to put in for those low level keys, and it makes tanking a lot more approachable as well, which I think is a really important goal to be doing for the health.
That's like
of the
game. Number one thing, right? Like why people don't want to tank is they feel responsible for like the route of. I mean, there's more things, but like the route of the key, and this at the levels where those people need it the most is completely solving that. You have no guesswork. You just get a simple route. Is it going to be great? No. Are you going to be able to time a 5 with it? Absolutely. You probably time up to, given the like damage you have in the group, you could probably time weekly keys at 10s with whatever routes they're doing with this, right? They're obviously not going to be like pulling huge, but a tank that gets used to pulling these and at least has the mob count figured out after enough runs might be like, you know what, I might be able to pull these 2 packs that are both lit up together because they just never feel challenged, right? But at least you're allowing them to get into the dungeons and not have to worry about that. I think it's like one of the smartest things they've done in a long time.
Yeah, so the exact change is it's going to highlight 100% count throughout the, like, they'll pick a set of enemies that are basically like a route, highlight them, and then reduce their health and damage by 5% as well to give you extra incentive to kill them. And if you just always kill those mobs, you'll get 100% forces. And and also while that affix is active, you don't lose timer from deaths too. So it's like, turbo easy mode, which
they're building Dragnos routes in the game.
Yeah.
By the way, when was the last time you did one of those?
I stopped in Dragonflight 1 and handed over the reins then. So that was 2023, I believe.
Holy shit, that's 10 years
People
ago.
still refer to Dragnos routes all the time.
They still call them that, yeah.
Yeah, so like they're basically doing Dragnos routes, but
they should call it a Dragnos affix.
Yeah, that's a different problem. Yeah,
I wonder how good they'll be. Like, I wonder if they tell you to pull just some absolutely demon. There's no way they're going to be there. Like,
I think they would change it pretty quick, right? If they ever like sans the mob, you're not supposed to pull.
But all I know, another criticism, like if they sand a mob, you're not supposed to pull, and it's like really bad, and they have to change it. Isn't the issue the mob? Not the fact
that just means that it's their problem. It's not.
I mean, they've gotten pretty good at not having illegal mobs compared to, dude, back in BFA when I was first making the routes, a big part of the reason why is that there were some illegal mobs, and then there were some pulls where it's like, yeah, this isn't the meta pull, but it's fine, right? And like,
I don't know, man. They still have some pretty illegal mobs.
Yeah, but there's nothing that's like, okay, you compare that to the double honor guard pull before Volcall and Ataldazar, right? Like you could do that 5 key levels higher or but lower than your top key level and you'd wipe to it, right? Those sorts of pulls like don't exist anymore, where the worst pulls are now like 2 key levels harder than their surrounding
enemies.
Not
as exaggerated.
Yeah, so it's like those ones are a lot like the whole thing. A whole part of the reason why the routes did so well when I started making them was that having somebody who could tell you whether it was worth trying to get your pug to skip something was really valuable, because there were some pulls where it's like, no, this is fine, just fight it, right? Like it's harder to coordinate a skip than it is to do this pull. And nowadays it's like it's always just worth fight. If you're in a pug, just always fight it, right? Like it's always worth it compared to trying to skip stuff.
Yeah, so I tried it so far in beta and it's kind of shitty, but I mean, it's a work in progress, right? Like I'm sure it'll get better. But like right now it's just like it's kind of I mean, it's kind of hard to tell like what mobs are highlighted, and the very first
visually?
route I did, I had 99% count, so it wasn't even accurate.
Dude, you maybe just missed a mob. You just missed a sand
No,
mob.
I went back to like, look
looked.
for any highlighted mobs, and I couldn't find anything.
Beast mode.
That is
But yeah,
amazing.
so if they can do this, I feel like it would be really cool if they just allowed players to highlight their own mobs in dungeons. Like that would be amazing. Like imagine a playtest mode similar to, you know how like when you complete an M+ dungeon, all the mobs they become inactive, right? Like where you can attack them, but they won't attack you. Well, it'd be really cool if you could just like mark all the mobs throughout the dungeon, and then you can just like create layouts or like MDT.
Or if there was just an in-game MDT,
in-game MDT, you like right-click the keystone, and until it's been done, you actually can just go through and just click the mobs you want to be sanded.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can do in-game and in-game and MDT, because like some people they have a hard time telling what the fuck is going on in MDT, right? Because like it's not as visual when you're just like looking at the map compared to what it is actually.
Like actually walking through the dungeon.
Yeah.
But like that also help DPS a lot too. Like it's not just for the tanks, because like if DPS can see like like, oh, this is the next pull. Like I see these 3 packs that are lit red. Okay, so I'm guessing the tank is gonna pull these 3 packs before I should start blasting my cooldowns. Like that's actually so helpful for
pugs.
if
this works,
if they can do that would be
insane.
insane.
Next cook, I think that sounds like really good.
Now, what do we think the first drama posts that we see around this affix are going to be? Do we think it's going to be people mad at tanks for pulling non-sanded mobs? Or do we think it's going to be people mad at tanks for pulling sanded mobs that they're not supposed to?
I think the key is too low for them to care.
Or it's like the DPS keep pulling non-sanded mobs because the pull's not too big. Although, even though I don't really know this because I don't do those key levels, I don't know how many people are zoning into a 3 and are like pulling everything, because you would just, why is that player in 3? It doesn't.
You would do 1-3 and then you'd have a 6 and then you'd be doing higher.
You'd never be in a 3 ever again,
bother.
right? So like I highly doubt people like that are in 3s.
All I'm saying is there are things that I see there. Dude, you guys see this Frank put in one of our channels actually.
Or if they're a warlock and then they join the key and they're really mad about a rogue in their group.
Here, I'll ping you. It's
I think I responded to this on
Twitter.
On Twitter, yeah, I made it. I quote tweeted it.
There was like somebody in Beto's flaming and saying like, this person doesn't deserve this key timed when we're on a beta dungeon.
That's like, you found a rare spawn of like, there's like delusional people, and then there's like absolute fucking freaks, and
then there's like a European player, which is like this guy. This guy's European,
very
for
European.
Sure.
Yeah, just like, dude, the fact that he like is like, I'm not going to finish this because this guy has played so bad. Like, just ignore everything else. It's beta. Like literally, none of these people ever play with each other ever again. It doesn't matter. It doesn't like that person timing the key that you think is terrible or whatever. That doesn't, them timing the key, they're not going to get anything that matters. They get 0 rewards. Like, what are you gatekeeping even? It doesn't even matter.
Sorry, guys. I have principles. I don't play with 0 self-awareness burden people with no respect to the game. It's a good sentence. I'm going to use that. I suspect this year.
My take on this on Twitter after reading that was just a like, I realized this a long time ago, but just like restating it, is that the other fascinating thing I find about this is that players who treat basically anyone like that or type anything of, obviously in beta, this is the lowest stakes possible. That key could not matter. It doesn't matter. You're gaining nothing. But even when there are stakes, like someone who is just like, this other player in this group is bad and actually cares enough to type that, like those players aren't good. Yeah. Like that's the thing that blows my mind. Like it would be one thing, I guess, maybe a little different if like they were genuinely great and like everyone around them, if they weren't as good, it like really frustrated them. But like those players are so bad that actually do that.
I've never met a good player who's mad about a worse player than them getting rewards from a dungeon you're doing. Because if you're actually a good player, you're always playing with people worse than you. It's a very common experience. You know, that people are lucky to get in your group because you're a good player. That's what being a good player is, right? Like. That's the experience. So you're kind of outing yourself as not actually.
Yeah, exactly. Like basically, if this is ever you, if you're listening
to
this and you're like, man, sometimes I get at people that like, I promise you, like the whole ego thing, like you're not nearly as good as you think you are. That's all there is to it.
almost always as well, if your brain power in, especially in a key where things are going wrong, is on what somebody else is doing wrong instead of like what you could be doing, you are that's another sign that you're not very good or not improving much. Because obviously sometimes you're doing a key and you're just like, okay, this is unplayable. This guy is can't push buttons or whatever, and some big tank problem exists, something, you'll notice that. But like typically good players are thinking about themselves, not other people.
I mean, there are people who defend this, like
Europeans.
Max's tweet, Europeans in particular. Well, one of the guys was like, "You don't even pug, you don't even know the pain he feels." Which, I mean, like, these guys kind of have something cooking, but like, dude, yeah, it's definitely a bad look to be doing this type of shit, especially
it's indefensible behavior, to be honest with you, just straight up.
Yeah, it's nice that you've always got the silver bullet against Max. Like, you don't even play the game anymore. Bang! You're no longer allowed to have an opinion about any of this.
Yep. W.
Yeah.
That's a classic.
I did have a long reply guy text on this, and I didn't respond too much, but basically his reply to the tweet was that, what do you mean people don't do this? People do this all the time. I'm like, yeah, I didn't say people don't do it. I just said that they're never good if they do this. And then he just like basically just completely ignoring what I'm saying and just like kept arguing against it. He's like, what do you mean? Of course they're good. Why would they do it unless they're good? And then I said good is relative, and then it just went in a totally different direction that I just never responded. It was just like, what am I reading right now? I've wasted enough of my time already. Like, there's no way. Do you guys ever get that? Do you ever have that issue where like you decide to reply to someone that just doesn't quite get it in the hopes of like trying to help them understand it, and then you realize that you should have never done that in the first place, and like nothing will be gained in this, and this person doesn't understand and is never changing their mind?
No, I never engage in those conversations.
That's smart. You're doing the right thing.
Dude, I think that experience is like the hallmark of Twitter. It's just always you type some stuff and it makes sense in your head, and maybe it makes sense when you tweet it, but sometimes it doesn't even. And yeah, you just regret ever tweeting, and then you come back the next day and you tweet some more.
Yep.
This reminds me of that video you guys ever watched, right? Why it's rude to suck at Warcraft.
Yeah,
it was like a really popular video.
I watched it a few years ago. I don't remember most of it.
I remember it featured the Ellesmere Gun Week or heavily in the middle of it, so I liked that.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
Do you guys ever? I have this thing where like I can watch a movie or something, and then after 2 years, I completely forget the movie, which is so like goated in a way, even though my memory's bad or something, because I can like rewatch the great movie and then like basically watch it again for the first time.
I feel like that movie surely was not that great if it was that forgettable.
Maybe, but this is like with everything. Like, for example, you said that why it's rude to suck at Warcraft. I remember watching that and I'm like, this is amazing. And honestly, I don't remember anything about that. I could probably watch it again right now, full natty, just watch it, and I would be like, oh, that's interesting, as if I haven't read it before or heard it before, but I have.
Dude, small tangent. I've been talking about movies on my stream a bit.
Ooh.
And
are you a movie watcher? I thought you'd be like a YouTuber.
No, that's the thing. Like, I was like, I feel like I should like look into watching some of like the classics, like some of the best movies, like
I went
Interstellar and stuff like that. Like, I've never watched any of those before, and I don't understand the appeal of it. But I also like, I feel like a lot of these older films surely don't live up to 2026, right? Or I feel like, if you're trying to watch them now, it's kind of hard.
Very, very hard to watch old films. Well, because it's just like the pacing is often so slow.
But it's also like they're just not considered original anymore. Like, at the time they were original. Like I said this about Lord of the Rings. Like, you guys should turn off right now if you're about to listen to some fiery hot takes. But I swear to God, I watched Lord of the Rings like 2-3 years ago, and it was just like, it was kind of whatever. Like, it was good and all, but I did not understand.
One shot so many people.
Yeah.
Well, I said this on stream, people were pissed.
If you watched like 50 things that are inspired by Lord of the Rings before you watch Lord of the Rings, you're gonna watch and be like, yeah, this is kind of derivative, right? Yeah. But it's like you've got the causality the other way around.
Right, exactly. Because like it just felt kind of generic, and it was just like whatever. Like, I didn't understand what was like so impactful about this movie. But like, I get it, right? Like, back then, this was probably like the greatest shit ever, and it paved the way for all these new forms of media where like you see inspiration from every game and every fantasy novel or movie, whatever you're watching.
Yeah, like I mean, it's also the certain types of things that happen in films. Like I remember when I watched When Harry Met Sally. This is kind of a really old movie. I don't know if you've seen it, but one thing they did in there was they did like throughout the movie they keep like interviewing these old couples that have like got married, and it's like a 1 minute clip and they talk about like how they met or something. And I remember watching that, and it wasn't unique to me because I've seen other movies do it because it's a really old movie and other movies have done that since. But when you watch Harry Met Sally was the first movie to do that. So like when people talk about how great these movies are, they're invoking an experience out of people that they're experiencing for the first time. They're like, wow, that was really fucking cool. And you can't really like rewatch that later and like have that experience because you've just seen other things copy it. I think that's a big part of it too.
Are those like classic WoW players?
Yeah, exactly. It's like if you showed somebody who's played all the retail boss fights, you show them Ragnaros, and they're like, dude, this fight sucks, right? And you're like, no, dude, this is the first fight to do all this stuff for like all the Molten Core bosses, right? And it's like, wow, this is where where the word patchwork came from, is this fight in Naxxramas, and this is why. And everyone's like, dude, I've done 10 patchwork fights. It doesn't mean anything to me.
Yeah, it's a very good point. Well,
Are there any masterpieces that I should actually watch?
Oh yeah, I mean, it kind of depends on what you like, but yeah. Also, one other note I had about like things don't age well. I think like animation and special effects in general are something that don't age well. Like I've watched like a fair amount of actually like Disney movies recently have been like really, really strong. Like, I don't even know if this is Disney. It might be another studio, but like Zootopia and like Zootopia 2 like are like super, super good. And then I went back and over Christmas time I watched like the Polar Express. I don't know if you guys watched that as a kid but like the animation is unwatchably bad. It's just so bad compared to stuff that it's so distracting. And I think especially special effects too can be like something that doesn't really age well, especially stuff from like the 90s and before that. It like special effects leveled up crazy in like the last couple decades.
Yeah, those were terrible.
What are movies you like generally like? Like what genres?
Not sci-fi is like usually the big thing. I guess anything that's like thought-provoking or emotional or
like
generally
thrillers?
Fantasy. No, I'm not really a big fan of thrillers.
Oh, dude. Okay, I'm like I would have like so many good thriller recs for you, but yeah.
Yeah, sci-fi is like my favorite genre.
I'm like
typically.
a thriller, suspense, anything dystopian as well.
Ooh, I love dystopian and like post-apocalyptic and that kind of stuff.
Post-apocalyptic is good.
I don't know. I don't have it. Maybe this is a viewers. Shout out in the Discord if you guys have great movie recommendations for any of us. I can slam that shit.
What about Interstellar? Was it that good? Mob movies? I've never watched Godfather, but people were saying how.
I mean, there's so many good mob movies from the past like many years. Godfather owns, but like, I mean, there's so many good ones in the 90s too. But like, The Departed is amazing, right? But like, I mean, if you're not into thrillers, I feel like there's like it's pretty pretty.
Did you not like Interstellar?
I didn't watch it, so I don't know.
Oh, you haven't watched it? Okay. I mean, it is very very sci-fi.
Yeah, like, is it actually that good?
I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, I think Interstellar's good. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of it is like there's some visually stunning parts of it that are cool, and then it's a pretty long film, and I think a lot of like they re-released it in IMAX like last year, and that I went to that and watched it again in IMAX, and that was poggers.
Yeah, there are definitely some movies that are best experienced in IMAX. I think that one is a big one.
But I think you'd still, I don't know. I mean, if sci-fi is like your least favorite type of thing, then it is definitely sci-fi. Have you watched The Martian? That's like another kind of, that's the opposite type of sci-fi.
Yeah, I watched that one. That was pretty good.
Yeah, okay. So if you like more kind of
Martian, you like Interstellar 100%. Yeah.
I mean, they're both sci-fi. Yeah, they're I guess there are some similarities, but they're also like that one.
Yeah, it just very, felt less about the sci-fi part. It was more about like, the guy living in space.
Yeah, it's very like grounded in what's actually currently, known rather than making some stuff up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, the main reason that I like kind of like looked into movies was because I saw the Odyssey trailer and I was like, oh, this looks fucking sick.
The Odyssey, ooh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Greek mythology.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. I mean, if you got a bunch of time on your hands, you could definitely get away with Like, just, I mean, you also are so lucky in that you're a streamer and people watch you on, not a YouTuber specifically. Like, I know you make YouTube content, but like when you are like primarily a streamer, people who watch your stream like really get you. You know, like that's like the super OP thing about it. Like in YouTube, they might be in there for just the content, but on Twitch, there's no way to get around that. Like they have to kind of vibe with you as a person and understand you, or else it just doesn't make sense. So I would reach out to your stream and be like, okay, you guys kind of get me. Like, what movies have you watched that you think I would like? And I bet any of the movies you really like will probably come from those people.
Yeah, people were telling me to watch Troy, and I was just like randomly watching Peekaboo, and he was saying how that movie is terrible, and it was like the worst thing he's ever watched.
Yeah, but I mean, like that's the thing though. Like you could have someone think a movie is terrible, and then you would love it. It's just different.
No, yeah, that's definitely true.
Like for me, like I can't watch any Paul Thomas Anderson stuff. Like he makes some stuff that's like really artsy, and a lot of people that are really smart love it, and it's like really thought provoking for them. And I just can't get into it ever. I cannot watch any of his movies. But like I'm sure people feel that way about a lot of the directors I like too.
Oh, that's the guy that did One Battle After Another?
Yeah.
I watched that recently, and I was pretty
every
bored.
Paul Thomas Anderson movie is just like it's the same bit, kind of. But you know what you should do, Dorky? Well, I know this isn't like maybe necessarily pure. I would highly recommend watching like basically all of Denis Villeneuve's like entire filmography. Just watch like everything he's ever directed. It's so good. He's the guy who did the Dune movies most recently, but like he's got some absolute bangers. Like Sicario, absolute banger. Prisoners, huge banger. He did a bunch of like good stuff in the 2010s.
Have you watched any
Arrival? He did Arrival too. Arrival.
Oh, I like Arrival.
Yeah, but like he's not into sci-fi. I feel like he would not be able to get into Arrival, but Arrival owns.
Have you watched any Quentin Tarantino movies?
Django was one of them.
Okay, yeah.
I don't remember which.
That's one of them.
Other ones he's done.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood owns. I mean, he's done a lot of stuff. Pulp Fiction is probably his most famous one.
Yeah, it's old as hell now.
Yeah, I don't know if you'd like that.
This looks old as hell. I've heard good things about this, but this is like 19,
like a classic.
Hell.
But yeah,
I was 1 year old.
Wow, you are old.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's crazy. But whenever I hear that, like people that were born in like 2004 are 20 something now, that's crazy to me.
Yeah,
I really like There Will Be Blood and Gangs of New York are like two that I think go really well together, but I think those might be a little too slow and like not all the way up his alley. What's like a good like action thing around?
Well, you could just watch those and put Subway Surfers in the corner, and that can really help with the experience.
No Country for Old Men. You seen that?
No,
dude. That movie's so good. Such a good guy movie.
I will say my attention span has been shot. I feel it, man. Like I fucking feel that shit. Like, cause like recently I've just been like sitting down and just trying to like immerse myself into games and shit. But like whenever like cutscenes would happen and stuff, I find myself just like drifting away and trying to like look at like a video on the side, or just like checking out Discord, or like look at a stream or some shit. Like, bro, my attention span has been shot these years, and
this is true of, I think, this is just what's happening to society. By the way, that's just the way that entertainment is being sourced to you. It's just training you to be that way.
Yeah, it is not good, man.
Okay, you guys want to do the Patreon question?
Sure.
This one comes from Maddie that says, "Hello, podcast. Long-time listener, first-time caller. What are your thoughts on the Dragonriding mechanic in raids and dungeons? What do you think they could change with it to make it more fun?" So we've had Tindral Sage Swift, Dimensius, and the Dawnbreaker are the three places where we've had like Dragonriding matter. Oh yeah, No Coup Defensive. Yeah, that one I guess had some, although that was mostly just like to travel between. I guess the Dawnbreaker was also like that mostly, except for you do technically do it during the last boss fight. But it doesn't matter. It's not hard. Yeah, the only times they made it hard are like the raid versions, right? Tindral and Dimensius.
Tindral had two parts of it. It was the part that I think is unassailably good about Dragonriding and raid is when it's like a in between intermissions and it's just like a little break. I think that's great on any super hard boss. Just doing that, super whatever. Especially because they they give you like a damage buff for doing it at the end too, so it doesn't just feel like you're wasting your time. You get to like, it allows you to have your CDs come back. Like what do people not like about that kind of stuff? Usually it's like, okay, I don't like being AFK and not playing my character, but if it means that you're letting your cooldowns regenerate and also you get to land and like pop off, like that's, and they've been smart enough to do it on like good CD timings. Like Tendrils, it was exactly 2 minutes. And then I think Dementia was actually like 1.5 minutes, was like the people who were really happy about that, but 2 minutes were like a little sad. But Tendril they had the difficulty be people would do it on the platforms. They would have people go up and have to like go get rid of those meteors and then come back down.
Dude, that part sucks.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but Dimensius, I think, maybe did it the best, where like you do the thing where most people are on a break and they just like chill to the next platform, but like you can pick like 6 or 7 people and they're
playing
going,
Star Fox.
How many people?
Yeah, they're doing the genuinely hard. Like you have to do it almost exactly right to actually get it in time and not die. And I think that was like super interesting. I think like Dimensius was like a really like, I think our players like really enjoyed doing that too.
I was that, like, I had the straight down one at the start of the first bit, and that one was like, that was genuinely really, really, really hard. Like, I messed it up like 4 times or something before I started getting it right.
Wait, the very first one?
Yeah, if you are
just go straight down and then back up.
Yeah, you have to go down and like under the asteroid.
That's one of the hardest ones.
Yeah,
really, that was a hard one. I didn't.
Dude, we going into that boss, like us and Echo got out of P1 at about the same time, and like a lot of our analysts were like compiling fucking like flight POVs of people doing the thing between the 2 guilds to figure out like what's the best route to get this thing, and then like, oh, this one's the hardest one. Like, which player should we have do this? Like Dryny is not allowed to do this really hard one because like we'll lose the race world first or something. But like you'd have to decide who is who should do each one basically.
Yeah, that's the one that I was like. There's a slow route that's safer to get to it, and then there's the like optimal route that gets you there 5 seconds faster, but is really, really tight. I don't know. I guess I kind of enjoyed it. I wish it was maybe a little bit easier, because just like wiping the raid to being a bad pilot is pretty
it was forgiving, right? So you didn't actually, if one person messed up and missed their orb, that wasn't a wipe, even in world first progression. Our first P2 second platform and our first P3 pull were both on attempts where one of our orbs was missed or died. And we still made it through. So like I think it was forgiving enough to where it was fine that it was that hard.
Yeah, we weren't able to like push our Toshin without the orbs for a long time of progression. By the time we were killing the boss, we could have done it without an orb for sure. But like, and we could never. I don't think we could have done Pargoth ever in progression without an orb.
Is Pargoth the second one?
Second guy, yeah.
That was the one that's way easier to do without an orb, because there's so much leeway at the end of the phase to actually not wipe, right? Like even if you're slow, you can still kind of make it work.
Yeah, it might have been our comp or something was lower damage on that. That spot or something, that particular mini boss. I'm not sure, because we got first platform started to be, we were way ahead on first platform eventually and still tight on second. I think people were just holding like greeting. We took everything we could off that for the burn as well. Anyways,
going back to the question. I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's kind of whatever. I don't really feel like Dragonriding adds anything to the fights, but it can make the 200th pull or 300th pull feel kind of like a drag. That is like one small criticism I have about it.
Man, I would just actually like completely disagree with the first point of it doesn't add anything to the fight. I think if you are Dimensius and you finish the first platform and the alternative is there's no Dragonriding, it just teleports you to the first platform, I think that is a worse boss. I just straight up think the Dragonriding makes that boss better.
Yeah, I guess the experience. I mean, that is true. It would be kind of weird if you just like teleport onto the platform.
Yeah, I mean, maybe to support your argument, it would be a different fight, right? Like there'd be something else rather than just teleporting to a thing. But I think it makes that fight work. Plus, it's the only way. Like, and this is not necessarily gameplay focused, but what a lot of people loved about Dimensius watching it was like how fucking crazy it looked. And I don't know if you could have made the boss look that crazy without the Dragonriding, because you needed the sense of scale. You needed to see how big something was, and you flying through all that area, I think that's the only way they probably could have accomplished that.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah, I think it does add something for especially like I think it's really cinematic. I think they shouldn't overuse it because I think it will stop doing that if they use it too much. But I think one raid boss per expansion. I think maybe the M plus dungeons don't need it. Like I feel like the flying around Nokud and flying around Dawnbreaker both sucked. I don't know.
Is that the reason that either of those dungeons sucked though?
I wouldn't say it sucked. It was just kind of whatever. Personally, like it just doesn't really feel too different from just like walking to the next pack.
Like
although I guess it does kind of add like a dynamic where you can just like skip past everything.
I didn't do Dawnbreaker at all. I did it like on beta a little bit. But I did Nokud a lot, and Nokud to me was like such a bad dungeon, and I think it had nothing to do with the Dragonriding. Like that dungeon just had infinite flaws, and I know a lot of people are like, well, that's the Dragonriding dungeon. Of course it's bad. And it's like, I just don't even know if Dragonriding was the reason that it was bad.
That is definitely true for Dawnbreaker, where like it's just the dungeon. It has nothing to do with. If anything, it's actually the boats on Dawnbreaker that people have a bigger problem with than actual Dragonriding, because like the boats were just dug out.
Does we admit that in both of those dungeons, Dragonriding isn't the problem, but does Dragonriding make any dungeon better? Right? Is it just there?
Right. And like when you think about what Dragonriding did to Nokud, you would like do that weird fly into the corner on the last boss area and like skip the trash that was supposed to be fought there, and then you were fighting in like a small cubby because you flew into that spot, right? And like you have all these like precise landing points and flying points that you kind of have to learn through both dungeons.
Oh yeah, I guess it is. Yeah, no, yeah, that is actually true. It is.
Dawnbreaker
kind of
has like, if you think about Dawnbreaker, like because of the Dragonriding, you have the boats and you have the like clipping through the boats, and you have the first boss where you like fly away from the boss when it's doing the big purpley exploding thing, and like the size of that is not easy to see and is buggy and stuff. So
well, it's not just that; it's also just like following your team and traversing the dungeon can be hard. Because like I swear I had this happen in a pretty high pug key. I was like probably like an 18, 19 Dawnbreaker, where I told the team after the first boss that we are gonna fly into the church and be there, right? So guess what happens next? We kill the boss. I fly into the church. My team is completely fucking lost. The mobs spawn, and they just like drop down and start pulling random shit and dying. And then like like they just vote abandon and leave, right? Like the classic, you wipe once, everyone leaves. And the guys were just like shit talking me the entire time. Like these random stupid ass pugs were like, Tank, why did you do this? Why did you go in there? Like, what are you doing? I'm like, bro, can you not fucking read chat? I literally told you guys to fly into the fucking church and nobody listened.
Yeah.
The only thing I'll say about the dungeons is, and it's the same thing as Dimensius, where I don't think you actively ever think about this, especially because we are so gameplay focused. But it's just to give the dungeons scale. If you have 8 dungeons, you don't want every dungeon to feel the same. And Dragonriding allows you to create a fucking massive dungeon. And I think that's something that they probably find pretty cool. And I think that's something that the players care about too. Like it's kind of why in raids, like you ask the question, like, why is there any trash? Why don't you just port into a new boss room? And it's because like they want that feeling of you being in a place you shouldn't be in. You're in this massive fucking castle, and obviously there are people defending it that aren't just the bosses, because of course there are, and stuff like that. And you don't really actually think about that if you're really gameplay focused, but like that's something they want to make you feel when you're doing this. And I think the majority of players probably do feel that. And I wonder if in dungeons that's part of their reason for Dragonriding, is they want you to feel like you're in this massive space.
I thought that was a cool part about Nokud, was that it felt like you were flying around the whole zone. Yeah, like that definitely is true. Although I think that when you look at like the specific Dragonriding design decisions of like, let's do boss fights where you dragon ride in the middle of them in Dawnbreaker, and Dawnbreaker doesn't even feel like a big dungeon, right? Like that, it feels like a tiny little town, and the Dragonriding is not, I think, contributing really much.
Yeah, it's just like a normal dungeon size almost.
Yeah, so, but I agree. I think making a dungeon where it's like, yeah, you dragon ride to traverse between parts of this dungeon, I have no problem with that. I think that when they are making like Dragonriding dungeon mechanics, the track record has been bad so far.
There's another thing we're missing before you go, Dorky, is that requiring Dragonriding and challenging content has produced some of the funniest clips of all time. I don't have any I can like share with it because I don't even know how to find them, but I bet you guys in your guilds that are listening to this have seen a Dragonriding clip of someone in your guild that is extremely funny, because the fights kind of make that happen. That's all.
Yeah, so for the whole argument about trash in raid, thing is like how many mythic raiders actually care about that part?
Ooh, mythic?
I would argue that most mythic raiders are gameplay focused.
Absolutely. But I also, when they create raids, they don't create a mythic raid. They create a heroic raid, and then they dumb it down for normal, and they increase it for mythic. Yeah, basically. So you're saying on mythic, just all the trash disappears, like an argument.
It's just like, or it lets you like teleport from boss to boss, you know?
Yeah, I think the reason that trash is there is because they definitely want it there on normal and heroic.
Yeah.
Right, which I understand. Yeah.
I mean, the complaining about trash, that is it's not just, I hear that every single raid night there's complaining about trash in my guild. It's
I mean, it sucks in particular for raiders that don't raid that often. Like, imagine if you're only raiding 6 hours a week, you spend a solid hour reclearing trash.
Yeah. I mean, I think it is one of those things where like that's never going away, right? They don't want it to turn into the Final Fantasy. You go to a boss arena, you go to another boss arena type thing, right? Like they want it to feel like
they've answered this before in interviews as well, and have said
have they? What did it?
Yeah.
Basically that answer.
They've answered that about trash. Yeah.
I mean, I just never really buy it for gameplay focused content. I mean, I completely agree with you, Dranos, when you were saying how like they shouldn't overdo it, because that's exactly how I feel when I play some of these other games. Like when I'm playing Elden Ring, for example, like it's really cool and it's an amazing spectacle fighting some of like the big bosses and dragons. But when I'm actually fighting the dragons, they are some of the worst fucking bosses to ever exist. Because like I always hear about how people are saying like, oh, Bale was like such an amazing boss, like so cool, or like, you know, all these like other dragon and like massive bosses, like they're absolute cinema. But when I'm actually doing them, I'm just like, camera's completely fucked. I'm just hitting their feet the entire time, and there's nothing interesting gameplay wise.
I think it's also that we've played it for like a really long time too. Like I could see someone watching or doing Dimensius at any difficulty level and being relatively new to the game, especially relatively new to video games, maybe. And they're just like, holy fuck.
Yeah.
And they'll literally never forget that. Right. It's like kind of like watching, like, I don't know, like some kind of like sci-fi as a kid for the first time, and it opens your eyes to like the different kinds of things that
it's like doing Ragnaros for the first time.
Yeah, or watching Interstellar, you know, it's like, whoa, this is
I mean, seriously, imagine watching Interstellar as like a 10-year-old. Like you just be like, what the fuck is going on, right? Like that would be crazy cool.
I mean, I had that experience in Dimensius P2 even, like it was sweet. It like is incredibly cool to see the way that like the scale of, and you're like flying around basically the planet-sized boss, like
but like once you've played a game for 5+ years, that's just all that, you're desensitized to all that stuff because you're already in, right? So I think it's important to keep. But how many new players does WoW have versus returning one? That's another always conversation that's there. But.
I think also even for us, like something that even if we thought Dimensius P2 looked cool, we have all seen it for many hours of our lives now, right? Like that novelty has faded, even if it was there when we first saw it.
Oh yeah, I mean, by the time we got to Mythic, we've already seen
we've seen it on normal and
the
heroic
Race to Warfers, and normal and heroic a bunch. Yeah.
Oh, a little nugget for anyone that's still awake while listening to this. Shout out to podcast sleepers or are just still listening for the love of the game at this point.
Wake up! Wake up right now!
Well, yeah, we have to scream that at them. That would be pretty good. We did hear some feedback. We talked a little bit last week about, especially me, I was like, I just don't even believe that people in PvE would cheat because, like, why would you? And like a lot of the feedback was like, people will always find a way to cheat. Turns out those people are right. We had some people.
I had a bunch of DMs.
Yeah. People reached out to basically all of us to be like, this is definitely a thing. It is kind of what we suspected. It's not at the top level, right? For all the reasons that we decided or that we like talked about. But like apparently it is definitely a thing. I think it's like like rotation bots, basically, like people's like playing people's character for you, not like one button rotation, but like the one that gets around that penalty, the GCD penalty of that, and have been using it for a while. Basically, I had some GMs and players reach out to us and be like, "This is definitely a thing." So just pointing that out, I was definitely wrong about the prevalence of that. It is. I don't know how prevalent it is, honestly, and I also I think another interesting question is I don't know at what is the highest rank guild that has someone that uses something like this.
What I was saying last week is like you wouldn't even be able to tell is the thing,
right?
Like, so somebody could just be using it right now, and we wouldn't even know.
You would be able to tell in like
I think you would
in the very highest level guilds, but I suspect that the highest level guild where it is known that there are people in it that cheat is probably lower than the highest level guild where somebody is cheating. Like there might be like, a world 300th guild, for instance, where there's like a bunch of people cheating and they know about it, and then maybe a world 50th guild where a person in it is using a rotation bot.
Mind. I mean, yeah,
known cheater is very low for sure.
Here's my 2 levels. I mean, yeah, I would also, if you guys can give us more feedback and help us answer this question, that'd be great. But I have like 2 lines of thinking there. Have you guys ever heard of this? I don't know if you guys have played a lot of FPS games, but if you have, something that's kind of fascinating about them is that game is all about like your ability and your skill to aim at someone and shoot at them, right? But if you watch someone play an FPS game and you know what you're doing, you can tell up to a pretty close amount how good they are without ever seeing them shoot a shot, just by the way they move and how they pre-aim. I think in WoW, there's a little bit of that too, where like, you don't even have to look at damage meters. You could just like kind of just see the movement of a player that's like not very good, and it's like very evident that like they kind of don't know what's going on.
Well, what about if you're both? Like, what if you're really good and you're cheating?
Yeah, if you are, because it basically like, is your movement giving away that you're a bad player, but your damage is still really good? But on the other hand, don't we all know a bunch of people that parse really well and then stand in the fire and die all the time?
I have even more. So another thing is, top rank guilds oftentimes will beta test or damage test, and things like cheats. Again, we don't know a lot about this, but I imagine during patches or something they will break, similar to maybe an add-on, right? And it takes a couple of days or whatever, maybe hours to get that fixed. If these people play all the time, you would definitely have some weird experiences with people when that shit isn't working, and like you would deal with them being great, and then like sometimes they're just fucking terrible, right? Because you would be if you're rotation botting and then you ever had to do it on your own, you would be visibly different than the level that you portray you are normally. So that, but then also the other side of it is, like, I remember the response I got in my stream was like, someone like that would be so obvious because they would just be dying to the Nexus King beam every single time. And then I was thinking, well, if the rotation bot was working, couldn't you also assume they would be the person least likely to get hit by that thing?
Because no,
they would only be looking at that, right? Like they would be offline.
Right.
And in fact, you could imagine a situation where somebody plays the game primarily without cheating, right? And then like turns it on hard boss fights to focus entirely on mechanics. And like, in theory, that person would improve their performance, right? Like that would be only upside. But again, it reminds me of like cheating in chess and stuff, where it's like, yeah, the absolute hypothetical best is a good player cheating and knowing how to cheat well and, cheating at the right time.
Yeah. I think that, but it's just like when you guys, everyone here plays WoW, or I guess in my case has played WoW, right? At like a pretty high level. So you know how fun, like the thing that is fun that makes you keep logging into this game is like your ability to do a rotation in this game, which is so fun. And also like do content at the same time. That is like kind of the thing that makes WoW good for us. So the idea that like someone would take basically all of the fun out of the game and you can understand in like a 1v1 PvP game or maybe a 5v5 PvP game why you would do that. And it's because the reward is winning. And WoW, what is winning? Right? You're in a guild and you're completing a boss and you're going through the tier, but like the only way you could log on for each one of those raid nights, can you imagine how unbelievably dreadfully boring it would be to just like walk around and just have someone play this would turn into a dog shit ass game. It would just be bad, right? So
I mean, what do you mean, dude? You're parsing 99. Everybody's talking about how much of a goat you are.
Yeah, maybe if you're like so narcissistic that like you just have to have everyone.
Well, you know that everybody also is cheating. You're just cheating better than they are, right? Like they probably just are not as good at it as you are, and you've. But
the thing is, like we're saying all this, but like
in your head.
People are abusing the fuck out of add-ons, which is like
right.
Similar.
That's basically cheating.
Like you could argue that like add-ons are cheating, right? Like. Yeah, it's a bit of a stretch.
I think it's a clear distinction.
Well, Blizzard's trying to get rid of add-ons because they're cheating. That's why.
Like the fact that people are trying to use as powerful of add-ons as possible is kind of like telling of how good. I mean, like let's say there was
all those
a
add-ons,
one-button
you're
rotation.
Still playing the character. You know what I mean? Like that's like most.
You are, but I mean, like you aren't playing mechanics sometimes. Like the most clear example would be whatever his face.
Oh yeah.
The rock boss this patch.
Oh, Fractalus, yeah.
Yeah, Fractalus, yeah.
Good, yeah. I love the yeah when there's no possible way you can tell what he's talking about.
Also, notably, a boss that like doesn't really have a face, but anyways.
Yeah, I mean, like nobody actually wants to do the mechanics of Fractal like we're quite literally not playing the mechanics at all. We just
Right.
literally have a weak order that tells us exactly what to do.
I mean, I do think there are a lot of different pathways to somebody cheating. I do think that
it's tempting for sure.
For me and you guys, I believe it wouldn't be fun, but I think there are people that, you know, would totally either have fun or feel like it's a necessity. Like, imagine you were in a guild that you really liked, but you were kind of a borderline player and you were maybe going to be getting kicked.
This I understand.
And you like turn on the cheat to avoid that, right? To avoid
to not be a burden, to not.
Yeah, you don't want to be a burden to your friends. You don't want to get replaced
too,
right? Like, yeah, you again, people
once you start doing it, you can't stop.
Yeah. And now if you turned it off, you'd be a lot worse. Like I could see a lot of different pathways to this, because a lot of the arguments about why you would never do it apply in a lot of other spaces where there is rampant cheating too, right? Like, and people do. It's just not everybody does, right? There are certainly a large set of people who would never do it because it would make the game less fun. But for some people, that wouldn't be that either that wouldn't be an issue immediately, or they would trick themselves into doing it and then again get to a point where it's like, damn, now I can't turn this off, right? Like, it's a slippery slope.
Bro, it's a very tempting offer. Like, I had a friend who was talking to me once. He was like, bro, I know how to just like have like kickbots and shit, like if you want to do that. And I'm like, man, this is a really goddamn tempting offer, but you know, you just gotta not go down that path. Except once you go down that path, it is really hard to come back. And also, like, I was saying this last time too about when I was using the one button rotation. Like, when it first came out, I was talking about how I was in a floodgate. I was like beating all these DPS as a boomkin in an 18 key, which was kind of sad. And it was kind of revealing how much cognitive load I had at the time. Because like I was literally just hitting one button and I was like so aware of just like everything that's happening. Everything just feels so slow. And it's like, yeah, like the best players would be able to abuse the hell out of this and be able to play so much better when it comes to like movement, avoiding mechanics, doing mechanics, doing kicks and stuff, shot calling.
Yeah, but that's the interesting thing. Like, and I know there might be some like just don't believe this, but like no top guild I've been a part of or people I've competed, like literally no one at the very highest level has ever done this, where you would assume this is where you take the best players. Winning the race matters so much for like us making money, like literally supporting our livelihood. Like that's like the highest importance, right? It's also the thing we care about the most. No one has ever, and I promise you at this level, if anyone was doing that, the second that it didn't work, which you know there'd be times it didn't work, it would be so obvious. Like you could not possibly get away with it. I just, why has no one done it at this level, right? Like why? Yeah. Like this with the people with the most to gain, and winning matters, and there's actually a winning.
I think there is a lot of there's a lot of an argument that like, yeah, you would get caught in a race to world first setting doing this, right? Like, whereas you wouldn't probably in a lower level setting, right? Like in a lot of guilds, you don't have to dummy test. If you play bad for the first week and then you parse great during farm, and for for the other 9 weeks of prog, you're a good player. The sins of the first week will be forgotten. That I think would be totally.
Yeah, and what do you have to lose? It's like, okay, maybe you get found out or something, you just change your name, disappear, and nothing matters. But at this level, people know who you are, you're on stream, and then like you get banned for that and everyone knows why, and now it's like this massive thing.
And the ceiling of WoW is not high enough that like cheating gets you above the very best players in a way that it is in like baseball. You can just get more muscle than all the other guys.
If you were to take any of our players in our guild, or let's just say all of them, let's say every single player that was doing world first progression on Nexus King in P1, which I think is one of the hardest phases to just move around and do. Like how much better would we have played that phase if all of them weren't worrying about pressing their buttons? We would have gotten through it pulls earlier for sure, right? Like no question. So like
way earlier.
There is something to gain.
So I guess it does just have to be that you would get caught and you don't become a player of that caliber if you are a cheater type thing.
Yeah, I think more than anything, it's just that like knowing the people that make it to this guild, the idea of doing something like that would absolutely disgust them.
Yeah,
like that would be, they would just never. But we're not talking about the majority, or even in a very specific guild. We're talking all it takes is like the 1% of the 1% that would actually, like the people that are like, okay, I would do this, but then they could convince themselves that it's not actually that bad of a thing. It's like there's a lot of factors that go into it that make it not surprising. We're obviously also not saying the name of the bot or multiple bots. I don't even know if we know what they are, because like also one we talked about whether we wanted to talk about this at all because we didn't want to advertise it, right?
Yeah.
Like it's kind of telling that none of us even knew this existed until people reach out to us. So clearly it's not very well known. So I mean, I don't even know if we should keep this in the pod, but yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, that's what I'd say is, if you, there's some worry that us talking about it, sort of, if making people aware that more people are using it than we initially thought would be that justifying thing for people to tell themselves like, oh yeah, people are doing this, I should do it. Like, do not do that.
I do think that's a big part of it, honestly. Like, I feel like we don't see it as much because it's not as known. Like the fact that we only really knew about it now is kind of like a big thing. But apparently, it's a big thing in PvP, which is why I kind of brought it up to begin with.
Some of the things that I got sent though, we're talking about like how there's always this cat and mouse with the ban wave and stuff, and if you're doing this, you do get banned, and you get banned, and you make a new account, and you do it again, and like that.
Oh, that's it. Yeah. See, that's something
that sounds horrifying to me, and also you're just like you would lose the respect of any good player you ever played with.
You have to completely start over about this. Like,
I personally
about why you got banned.
Yeah, that's true, and you can make a lot of Reddit posts where it's like, I got banned, I don't know what happened. I was farming some stuff in Tenaris, and then I logged in the next morning, and I was banned, and then Blizzard, eventually, like one out of every 100 one of those, it's like, oh yeah, if we actually see that this person was botting, and the other 99, it's like probably most of them were.
Yeah.
Oh, and it's also WoW players care a lot about their accounts. I think that's also a large reason why people don't cheat as much.
A very good point, actually.
Like
think about
like say you get. Yeah, like if you get banned in like any of these like FPS games, right? It's whatever. Right? You just make a new
literally
account,
free to play game. So like the what you are losing is like nothing. Your time, basically. You just make a new account. So like and WoW, not only are you losing this account that you paid for, not only your monthly sub, but your the expansion in the game, right? You're spending like $100 every time this happens.
Well, it's also all their collection, right? Like they've spent.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that's you can't put a value on that for some players. So yeah, you're exactly right.
So yeah, do not do that. We will all think less of you if you do that. So do not. And if you are currently doing it, stop.
We do potentially, again, at the risk of not wanting to advertise this for sure. But we did have some people reach out to us, multiple, I believe, that are like, you could interview me, and they were either people that have people in their guild that do this, or people that are used to doing it. And I'm like a little fascinated into how that works. Like, how often do you get banned? When you get banned, what do? Do you just go to another thing? But then you don't want to glorify it, you don't want to advertise it, but at the same time, it would be like really interesting. I don't really know exactly how we should handle that.
Yeah, let us know in the comments how you feel.
We do want those investigative.
Also, if you are somebody who's doing this as well, let us know your guild rank too. That's
I genuinely want, and it's going to be so hard to like verify this, but I'm fascinated to know who has gotten away with this at the highest level. Because like if I were to guess, I mean, obviously I guessed last week and I was wrong about that. I would just guess that it's like nowhere near. I mean, I know it's nowhere near the very high end, but I would guess like world top 50 would blow my fucking mind if someone at that level was doing that.
Yeah, again, to the best of my knowledge, I don't know anybody that's done it. Even like not just in my guild, but like rival guilds. None of the. I feel like that would like get out. So definitely,
bro. If someone was doing that in the like every single guild around,
it would have to be somebody who only like who told nobody, right? Like they would have to be doing the cheats on their own. Because I do think that if there was any guild where there was like people doing it, like as soon as 2 people know about it, that's getting out eventually, right? One of those people is leaving the guild.
Dude, we had someone in our guild a while ago. I know both of you have heard about this, but was caught DDoSing other healers in the guilds, and they were the 5th healer, so they could get more raid time. The only reason we actually found that out is they were in a Discord with a small friend group and were openly talking about doing it, right? So like people who do this stuff are like kind of stupid, and they're most likely will get caught.
Yeah. Okay. Any other stuff you guys want to talk about on the podcast this week? The Psychic Link weekly change is in as well, by the way. That is, I believe, the 13th time that Psychic Link's coefficient has changed. But
I think Blizzard should lean in. I think they should just adjust Psychic Link every single time until. I mean, that would actually probably get old pretty fast. The only reason it's funny is because it's not a bit.
Yeah, it's because they genuinely keep trying to, but now it's up to 45%. So I think that's a new high watermark for it. I think the lowest it's been is 15%. And has been trending back upwards. So yeah, now it's all the way up to 45% on that number. So Yeah, funny Shadow Priest moment.
Is so back.
Yeah.
Dude, it is kind of worrying that the pre-patch is next week. And we didn't get a whole lot this week. I was expecting a big build this week because, we haven't had a build for a month now. But we barely got shit, and the game is still buggy as hell.
Yeah.
All right. Also, if you want the Legion Remix feat of strength, you have to log in on Friday or between Friday and when it stops. So if you were under, there's a feat of strength that's like, I logged in at the end of Legion Remix. So do that if you want it. Starting Friday, ending. I guess by the time this comes out, it will already have been Friday. So yeah, log in. Cool. I think that's all that we've got for this week then. Hope you guys enjoyed. I think that we actually, I didn't know where this podcast was going when we started it, but I think we had some really interesting discussions at several spots. So well podded, everybody. And
talk about movies. That came out of nowhere.
That was good. Yeah, that was good. That's bonus movie talk.
W movies.
W. All right. Poddy bye.
Poddy, see you later.